Hi everyone, in this video we are going to convert fractions to equivalent fractions with the LCD, or the least common denominator, or the smallest common multiple. That's just another way of saying the least common denominator. So our denominators are 30, 15, and 18, and we want to find the very smallest number all of those will go into. So I'm going to do the listing out method. So I'm going to start with 15 and just start listing all the multiples of 15. 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 3 is 45. 15 times 4 is 60. 15 times 5 is 75. And I think we can be done, but if we don't find something in common, we can go back and add more on the 15 line. So let's move on to 18. 18 times 1 is 18. 18 times 2 is 36. 18 times 3 is 54. 18 times 4 is 72. And 18 times 5 is 90. And we'll stop there and hopefully we'll find something in common. Next, let's do 30. 30 times 1 is 30. 30 times 2 is 60. 30 times 3 is 90. 30 times 4 is 120. And 30 times 5 is 150. And I can see now there's a trend of 90 being in common here. So let's see if I add more onto the 15, if I end up getting 90. So 15 times, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's go ahead and do 15 times 6, which is 90. There we go. So yes, 90 is the smallest common multiple with all three of those numbers. And I can see that, 60 wasn't common with this one and this one, but it wasn't with 18. So it wasn't a common denominator for all of those. If I had continued going, I would have found more common denominators, but I want the smallest. And that's the first number that I see in all of those. So it's the smallest out of all of them that will be in common. So we are going to use the least common denominator of 90. Now I need to change each of those so that they have that common denominator. I'm going to go ahead and start with the negative 7/30 and change that to a denominator of 90. So I come to my list of the 30 and I see it was 1, 2, 3. 3 times 30 gave me 90. And whenever I multiply the denominator, I also need to multiply the numerator so that it keeps its value. So 3 times 30 does give me 90 on the denominator, and then I have to multiply the numerator. Negative 7 times 3 gives me negative 21. And that has now been rewritten as, or converted to, the fraction with the least common denominator. Now I'm going to do it with the 1/15th for the next one. So I'm going to go to the 15 and count how many times it took me to get to 90. 15 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gives me 90. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 6. And I know that 15 times 6 is 90, so the denominator is the least common denominator of 90. And to multiply the numerator, 1 times 6 is 6. Now the last one I have, negative 5/18, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that 90 times 5, or 18 times 5 equals 90. So I'm going to multiply the denominator by 5. And because I multiply the denominator by 5, I must multiply the numerator by 5. 18 times 5, we already found, is 90. Now negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. And I have the fractions all rewritten with the least common denominator of 90.